Usha, we can start, Usha.
Yes, madam.
Yes, thank you, Usha.
Thank you, ma'am. A warm greetings to one and all present here. A gentle reminder to the esteemed participants to mute your audio and video throughout the session. Thank you all. Tennis player Serena Williams says that every woman's success should be an inspiration to another. We are strongest when we cheer each other on. With this positive sign of note, let us begin our today's session on the title Women Empowerment and Gender Sensitization with our most respected and most dynamic IPS retired former DGP, Government of Tamil Nadu, Mrs. Latika Saran, as our chief guest. We all could witness that today's proceedings is especially empowered with women, as the title rightly points out. Prayer evokes the blessings of the Almighty. Now, I request the learned fraternity of this special gathering to join us for our college prayer. On behalf of the management, principal, vice principals, deans of various schools, and a special mention to the School of Humanities, Guru Nanak College, I, Dr. V. Usha, from the Department of BA English, profoundly delighted to welcome you all for this third day of 5-day International Faculty Development Program on examining critical frontiers in social sciences domain. Shakespeare, through the character of Balthazar, says that small cheer and great welcome makes a merry feast. Now, we welcome the backbone of this 5-day International Faculty Development Program, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics and Dean, School of Humanities, Dr. N. Malati, to welcome the gathering. Madam, please.
Thank you, Dr. Usha. Thank you so much. Good afternoon to one and all present here. First and foremost, I welcome our Iron Lady and the most respected resource person of today, Ms. Latika Charan, IPS retired, Government of Tamil Nadu. The most honorable and dynamic secretary and correspondent of our college, Mr. Manjit Singh Nair, respected principal, Mr. M.G. Raghunathan, former principal, mentor, and guide for our Guru Nanak College and advisor for management, Dr. Malin Marais, Vice Principal Shift 1, Dr. LRS Kalanidhi, Vice Principal Shift 2, Dr. Rajashri, Dean Academics, Deans of various schools, Controller of Examination, HODs of different departments, faculty members of our college and other colleges of Tamil Nadu and other states, my heartiest and warm welcome for all of you. In the globalized era, the contribution of women in economic development has been increasing significantly. Almost 17 to 18% of the total India's GDP comes from women workforce. Women are taking more responsibility than men in our society. We have reached the target of 30% of reservation for women, almost 90%. We have to reach 50% of reservation for women. The important one is here that not only getting 30% or 50% of the reservation for women, apart from this, we need to improve our efficiency in all angles, in all the disciplines. We have to improve our efficiency. Whichever the field, the women contribution should be a significant level. Only thereby, the contribution of women in India's GDP will increase from 18% to 50%. In the GDP, our contribution should increase. That should be our ambition. So if we have the primary ambition of that, automatically we'll go for all other process of that. If we go to all the process to reach that 50% of GDP, definitely within limited time period, we will achieve 50% of GDP by women workforce in our India's GDP. And then the next thing is, in Tamil Nadu, already the contribution of women in the state GDP, it has been increasingly when compared to other states of India. That I can say proudly, our contribution, especially in Tamil Nadu, our contribution is more in SDGP. So for that, we can give several reasons. Right from 1950s onwards, we started to give importance for poor people, and we started to give for education improvement, enrollment in the primary school, enrollment in the higher secondary, enrollment in the higher education, all these things that we have started right from 1950s onwards and from Kamaraj period onwards that we started. So that now at present we have, our condition, especially in the contribution of women in SDGP, is significantly higher than the other states. That only we could say proudly. So to improve more and more, we all can take our heroine of today, Mrs. Latika Charan IPS, as our role model, so that we can overcome how much ever the hurdles we face in the society. Definitely we can come out from all these hurdles if we take our resource person Latika Charan IPS as our role model. Definitely, whatever the problems we face in the society, we'll come out from that and definitely we'll achieve. So with this welcome address, I just finished thing and over to Usha, thank you all. Thank you very much to one and all present here.
Thank you so
Over
much,
to Usha.
madam. Yes, madam. Thank you so much, madam, for your warm words of welcome. We now invite the Assistant Professor, Department of BA Defense and Strategic Studies, Dr. O. Nirmala, to introduce our today's chief guest to the August gathering. Madam, please.
Ma'am, very good afternoon. Ma'am, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. You are very much welcome.
Yes. Ma'am, I'll just share my PPT right now. Just tell me whether it is visible.
Yes, sure.
Yes. Is my screen visible, ma'am?
So far, it's not, ma'am.
Now, ma'am?
I'll check. You are into, yes, ma'am. Let's start.
Yes. A very good afternoon to one and all. And I'm so happy to introduce today's chief guest, Madam Latika Sharan. She is the former Director General of Police, Tamil Nadu, India. Earlier, she served as the 36th Commissioner of Police in Chennai, and she is the only woman to head a metropolitan police organization in India. Before that, she was an additional Director General of Police, and if you see her early life, Madam was born on 31st March 1952 at Idukki district in Kerala. Madam, at this juncture, I would like to tell you on behalf of Guru Nanak College, many happy returns of the day in advance. And she entered the Tamil Nadu Indian Police Service in 1976 as one of the first two women to be admitted, and the other being Tilagavadi ma'am. And her posting, including ADGP, Training and Project Director, Tamil Nadu Police Academy, Inspector General of Police, Directorate of Vigilance and Anti-Corruption, and she becomes the Commissioner of Police, Greater Chennai on 20th April 2006. On 8 Jan 2010, she was appointed as Director General of Police for Tamil Nadu and becoming the second female DGP of a state in India and also the first for Tamil Nadu. Her appointment was later challenged by another IPS officer who claimed her seniority, which has been overlooked. And in October 2010, the Madras High Court overturned Madam's appointment and ruled that a list of 3 eligible candidates must be presented, from which the state government would make their selections. The state government, after due consideration and in full compliances with the directions of Supreme Court, again chose Madam from the list. She was reappointed on 27 November 2010, and after her retirement, she spends her time by engaging in social activities. She gave more importance to road safety sectors by taking awareness sessions in schools, colleges, and has been engaging and creating awareness through NGOs too. With this, I wholeheartedly welcome you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Over to Usha, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, madam, for introducing our most vibrant chief guest of today's FDP, that too through a PPT in a unique way. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. There's something so special about a woman who dominates in a man's world. It takes a certain grace, strength, intelligence, fearlessness, and the nerve to never take no for an answer. With these befitting words, and without much ado, we welcome our most respected chief guest, IPS retired, former DGP, Government of Tamil Nadu, Mrs. Latika Sharan, to deliver her presidential address on the title Women Empowerment and Gender Sensitization. Dear is yours. Madam, please.
Thank you.
Most welcome, ma'am.
Dr. Malati, Dr. Raghunathan, Sardar Manjeet Singh Nair, and all the distinguished faculty of Guru Nanak College and all the distinguished faculties who are attending this faculty development program. I'm indeed honored to have been called here for this particular lecture. Let me start. It's an afternoon. You would have had a good lunch. So let me start, as usual, by storytelling or telling you about some incident from the distant past. Many years back, almost 11 years back, the IG Central Zone called me and told me that there was some problem in Tanjavur, and the young SP there, a very, very efficient officer, was having a lot of problems. And so the IG said he had sent in 4 other SPs to help him out. He needed help on the borders, as well as one would go in as a striking force to be at his side. I said, all right. I'm sorry. So I told him this is okay, and we shall, we'll go ahead with whatever he said. He told me who the SPs were. They were from Tiruvallur, Pudukkottai, Perambalur, and I think Ariyalur also. Anyway, these SPs went in, helped SP Tanjavur out. Problem got solved, and they all returned back to their own districts. Was there anything extraordinary about this? I didn't think so, nor did the the IG Central Zone. But the point in this was 3 out of the 4 SPs who went were women. And never once did the IG ever say, I'm sending a lady SP to help out. He just said, I'm sending SPs so and so and so and so to assist the SP Tanjavur to get over the problem. And today, when I was thinking back, I thought back 30 years ago, the then SP of Erode district had a minor hassle where the local inspector, the sub-inspector crime, all of a particularly important police station were on leave or on some other duty, on tour. And so, because there was nobody else, he asked the sub-inspector of the women's wing of Velachery-Tambaram to handle the law and order police station. It so happened at that time they had this problem where the local MLA and somebody else were having a huge standoff, to the point where they were using the police station more or less as their personal fiefdom and fighting area. The sub-inspector had nothing to do with this. She told them that what could be done. She caught hold of those who had been creating problems. Then both these gentlemen came to the station and started shouting. She promptly arrested the 2 of them. And for the rest of time, as long as this lady was in that women's wing in Velachery-Tambaram, there was no problem at all. I mean, here again, what the SP did was he asked the officer on the spot to take charge, and the officer did as it had to be done. Here we're not talking about lady officer or man officer. We have several men who are very, very good at work. We have several ladies who are equally good at work. And what both the SP Erode and the IG Central Zone did was they empowered officers who also happened to be women. What matters is that you need the best person for the job. And what matters is what you bring to the job, which is your intellect and not your gender. This is extremely important. Years ago, when we got 4 ladies on first promotion posted to Chennai city, it evoked a lot of surprise and some consternation also. But the point was, they also had to be given a chance. They were capable, and therefore it meant they could do the job. Today, nobody bats an eyelid when they know that the SP of the district or the DIG of the range is a woman, because what they say is these are all IPS officers, or these are all police officers who know their work, and so on down the line. And that is how it should be. When we say women's empowerment, one of the best definitions I've read lately is it seeks to stimulate the confidence in women by giving what is needed to help them see and develop the skills they have or they want to acquire. And this is done through better education, awareness, and a space to freely express oneself. And going on from there is something everybody is aware of, that women's empowerment is a critical aspect to achieving gender equality, where both men and women have equal power and opportunities for education, healthcare, economic participation, and personal development. When you look at that on what is already available, let's look at the Constitution of India. Our Constitution guarantees equality and justice in all spheres of life. It's guaranteed equality to women and ensured that the state implemented various schemes for their benefit. So some of the important articles are Article 14, which says that every person is equal before law and has equal protection of the law. Article 15, which prohibits discrimination of any kind on basis of religion, race, gender, caste, etc. Article 16 provides equal opportunity to every citizen to employment. Article 39A directs the states to promote justice on the basis of equal opportunity and to provide free legal aid for securing justice to every citizen. Article 42 directs the states to make provisions for just and humane conditions of work and also for maternity relief. And Article 51 states that it is a duty of every citizen to renounce practices that are derogatory to the dignity of women. We have laws for protection of women also. They are there in the IPC. There are a number of them. There are special and local laws like the Dowry Prohibition Act or the the Prevention of Sexual Harassment in the Workplace. There is also the Equal Remuneration Act of 76, which was established to ensure that men and women got equal pay and wages for the work done, and that there is no discrimination on grounds of sex in the matter of employment. I would also like to read out something from the National Policy for Women's Employment, written down as early as 2001, which is for the upliftment and well-being of Indian women. The objectives included creating an environment through positive economic and social policies for full development of women to enable them to realize their full potential, the enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedom by women on equal basis with men in all spheres, political, economic, social, cultural, and civil. Equal access to participation in decision-making of women in social, political, and economic life of the nation. Equal access to women to health care, quality education at all levels, career and vocational guidance, employment, etc. Strengthening legal systems aimed at elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. Changing societal attitudes and community practices by active participation and involvement of both men and women. mainstreaming a gender perspective in the development process, and very importantly, elimination of discrimination and all forms of violence against women and the girl child, and building and strengthening partnership with civil society, especially women's organizations. And on that, though we may crib about the amount, right from the year 2005, gender has been added into the budget, and there is an allocation for that also. Now, all this is also in line with what the United Nations says, and the 5 things they say that you need to do in 2022, which is realize women's equal rights, ensure equal representation, invest in women, that is, help her to get ahead of whatever she is doing right now, help her to get ahead by giving her the resources, the opportunities, and make it a level playing field for her. And very important, take emergency action to end violence against women and girls. And again, this is music to the ear of the students. Listen to the voices of young women. I guess you can also listen to the voices of young men. Now, let's get away from the general and come down into the area that all of you are in, which is the educational area or the academic world. The environment that you are in can be biased because society, unfortunately, is still male-oriented. It can be sexist because being a woman is seen as weak and she needs a man's help. You know, I have heard this said, and I'm sure many ladies in their time have heard this being said. You know, she won't be able to do that. You better send him to help her. That does a lot of good for her ego, I must say. Because obviously, the person who is speaking is not considering whether the lady academician or wherever she is capable of doing that work. She's being judged by her gender, and that is something which should never be done. Sexual harassment in the workplace makes the women wary. It also makes them feel as if they are excluded from something and not a part of the larger family. The question also has to be asked, are women being reduced to being a showpiece for mandatory procedural requirements, or being showcased to show gender sensitivity? You find a lot of things happening on 8th of March, but on 9th of March, we sort of return back to normal. And I come to the next thing. Being in this kind of biased environment, what happens? In an effort to show that one has the potential and can perform, a lot of women react by trying to be equal to men, or being better than men, or being more manly than men, if you would like to call it that. But the question I would ask is, why on earth would you want to be equal to someone or be something else by downplaying your own strengths? The only thing that is needed is that you have to see those strengths as strengths. Let me explain this. For years, especially when I was a junior officer, I have always been taught to be polite no matter what is the circumstance. And very often, people used to mistake the politeness for weakness. I really have no idea why politeness should ever be taken as weakness, because there was this awful image of the policeman as a rough, tough, macho man, larger than life, who could scare everybody into submission. But that was not necessary. What you really needed was the knowledge of your laws, the confidence to carry something through and ensure that people listen, people obey. And it can be done if you're polite. Today, not today, say once the new millennium dawned, we've started teaching politeness as one of the soft skills that every policeman should know, has to have basically in them. We have all to mind our P's and Q's. And just because we do mind them, it doesn't mean that we are weak. You can get through, you can get a lot of things achieved. It's the confidence that matters, not your yelling capacity. And this, I would say, is very, very important. You don't have to shout to be heard. Sometimes, yes, it is useful, but you can make yourself heard nonetheless. I would say that teaching, and if there are any students over here studying also, just like policing, is gender neutral. You don't have to be a man to teach. You don't have to be a man to learn. There's no must for a woman to be a teacher. There's no must for only girls to study. It is open to both. Teaching, studying, policing, all of us can do it. It doesn't require a particular kind of skill. It just needs you to be competent. And I think in our respective worlds, we are all competent. And we have to respect each other's human rights. Now, I always have this theory that being gender sensitive is also respecting the other person's rights. Once we start respecting each other's rights, once you have young boys in schools respecting girls for what they are, respecting their rights, I think a lot of problem, which is gender-based violence, will actually come down. Gender-sensitive teaching, I should say, is also how a lecturer or a teacher responds to topics where women have also contributed, and as well as how he responds to a mixed group of students. Very often, the achievements of women in the world of academics, in the world of science, in the world of arts also, is often not remembered by anybody. And yet we always remember Albert Einstein. We forget his wife who helped him with his thesis. We always remember Charles Babbage, but we always forget Ada Lovelace, who was the one who was the original computer programmer. And the list is endless. I mean, at some point, if any one of you wants that huge big list in the world of academics, do ask me, I'll give it to you. There's a lot written about it. So what I would like to say is, what really has to change for all of us, and we need to change this while going forward, is the attitude that a woman cannot succeed. The attitude that, I'm not saying it has to be an extraordinary woman who has to succeed. I'm saying every woman can succeed, provided she puts her head down and works hard. After all, most men work hard and they succeed. They're successful with what they do. The same thing goes for women, whichever field it is. Now we are getting a lot of names and details of people who are doing extraordinarily well in their fields, but it is the attitude that they can succeed, attitude of everybody around which says, yes, you can succeed, the opportunities which are given to them, and the woman has to take it and do something. When I'm talking about attitude, I'd like to go back to something that I'd actually experienced, though it was more in the form, it wasn't, I guess, 100% serious kind of scene. When I was talking to my colleague who headed the Tamil Nadu Commando Force and the Commando School, we were both IGs at that stage. And at some point, somebody asked me, which is the posting you would like to be? So I said, oh, I'd love to be in the, head the Commando Force. And my colleague heard this and he said, oh, no, you can't. So I said, why? Why can't I head this force? He says, no, it wouldn't be all right. I said, why wouldn't it be all right? So now he started floundering because I wasn't giving up. And he said, no, it needs a lot of skill. So I said, tell me what is the skill it needs and I will ensure that I get the skill. And the story just went on from there where he felt that it would not be proper for a woman to head that unit. I just wonder what, he's retired, but I just wonder what he thinks right now, because there is a woman heading that unit and she's doing equally well. So the point is, women can do as well as men wherever. It's just that concept, oh, she can't do it. That's got to be removed. Once that attitude is out of the door, I don't think we have any problems whatsoever. In all these things, something that I feel is very, very important. Of course, I know that for all of you, at least for the lecturers, the Human Resource Development Department in the university insists on refresher courses, etc., to be done. But skills upgradation is an absolute must. As long as we can keep reading, as long as we can keep studying, I don't think there is any problem whatsoever. For us in the police force, something that was always told to us and which was so important was keeping abreast with the laws. It's important. We need to do it. We have to do it. And if that is done, most of the problems can be overcome. There are skills which people need nowadays, aside from the soft skills. You need the skill to communicate, the skill to counsel, because all of you in the academic field, at some point or the other, you are counseling your students. You are counseling those who work under you. And this is becoming something which is more and more required. So these are things that have to be done. Aside from what the government does or the government has laid down for women's empowerment or for gender sensitivity, what else is required? I would say one of the things which is done maybe out in the districts, etc., are the health camps. The health camps are definitely important for both men and women, more so for young girls, and counseling. We're in a rat race. I'm sorry, I'm not in the rat race, but all your students are in the rat race. And being in that rat race, something that is absolutely essential is having counselors on campus. Not just one, you need several of them on campus. Small comforts which are required both for men and women are proper restrooms. And I am not talking about the toilet. I'm talking about the room in front of it where somebody can, if needed, take a rest. See, so that's important. Then maternity and paternity leave. And it also stands to reason that if you've got more than 50 women working in the institution, you need a creche. Whether people like using it or not, a creche is a very, very great help. I can speak about that because my daughter spent the first year of her life in a creche in Shastri Bhavan. And the other very important thing is awareness programs. We need awareness programs for teaching people about so many things. It could be legal awareness. It could be about all your rights, human rights, gender rights, the rights of weaker sections. These awareness programs are essential both for students and for the faculty. And very important is teaching people to respect one another. We can respect one another, as I said before, there'll be less chance of violence in the home. And as the past 2 years have told us, most of the women, working women that is, found themselves with 3 jobs on hand during the pandemic. They had to do the work at home, they had to do the work that was required of the institution or the office, and they had to teach their kids, all rolled into one at the same time. So my question is, can you tell your male students that please, when it's time to set up your home, or even now when you go home to your parents, please help in the housework. It's not just going out to the shop and coming back. It's do the housework. That is what is tedious. That is what really makes somebody tired. But if there is a helping hand, I'm sure things can be done ever so fast. Now, I don't want to end this session by making everybody feel that it's only us in India who've got this, huge big chip on our shoulders regarding women's ability and other things to work and the importance of women, etc. In 2010, I had attended a Homeland Security conference in Tel Aviv. And the speakers at this conference, as also the people the audience there, consisted of police officers, administrators, mayors, mostly mayors of cities, and a very very few retired personnel from Israel as it happened. And I was there going to speak on the subject of safe cities. And alongside with me was going to be the Chief of Police of Bangkok City, the Chief of Police of, I think, Tennessee. He was also one of the cities in Tennessee. He was also there. There was a Chief of Police from Israel, one of the cities in Israel. There were a couple of mayors who were representing cities in Mexico and some other place. And all of us were seated on the stage. And we were all given actually 5 minutes to speak about the places we come from. And I heard with a certain amount of amusement as each one of the people spoke about the manpower which worked under them, which is about 2,000 or less, about the extent of the city and the number of people in it. And when I got up to speak, most of the people who were there just thought, I was brought in for the color or for having one lady in the whole thing. I was DGP Tamil Nadu, so I told them about Tamil Nadu. And the first thing I told them was, I police an area where the population is 62 lakhs. Or in their words, I think 6 million or something like that. Our area is 130,000 square kilometers. And my force, my department consists of 104,000 people. Well, let me tell you what happened. Everybody sat up and listened. It didn't matter then whether the person speaking was a man or a woman. They knew that this is a person in authority and we better listen to what she says. And on that very happy note, I would like to say thank you to everybody for listening to me, and thank you to the management and the Department of Economics for having invited me for this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We profusely thank our dear Iron Lady for your vibrant and motivational speech. Madam, the interesting anecdotes that you have shared with us regarding the hurdles that women come across in the workplace has really enlightened us. Definitely, we need to reshape our own perception and how we view ourselves. We have to step up as women and take up the lead. Your strong and authentic viewpoints on women discrimination has to be taken up with an utmost care. Your views on the equal treatment of a fellow being made us to understand that how to create an unbiased world for us and also for others. Yes, it is not the responsibility of the people in position to give the proper direction to the society, but it is a duty of any individual in position to give proper direction. And the soft skills that you have mentioned, really, we have to educate the children. But it is the duty of everybody. As Madam rightly pointed out, soft skills play an important role in shaping the young minds. It is also the responsibility of the teachers to give the proper guidance to respect one another, which will reduce the violence in the society. Madam also pointed out that the children should be taught at home that how to give respect and treat a fellow human being. Definitely, the learned members of this forum will take up the responsibilities pointed out by you as far as women empowerment and gender sensitization is concerned. On behalf of this forum, I profusely thank you, Madam, for your enlightening speech. Now the forum welcomes questions from the participants. Participants, please. Yes. Participants, you can raise your questions. Madam is waiting. You can text your questions in the chat box.
Good evening, madam. I'm Dr. Alagar Sami, HOD Social Work, Sri Krishna Arts and Science College, Coimbatore, madam. This question to Madam Latika, madam. Madam, there are now the online gaming is a current problem, and many college and school students are addicted to online gaming, and the drug addicts are also very steadily increasing among the school students, madam. How we can stop as a police officer in this problem, madam?
See, with regard to both online gaming and drugs, any antisocial activity for that matter, it's something which I feel that we have to teach children right from the beginning that what is right, what is wrong, what you don't get addicted to. See, I understand one thing, that a lot of pressure for drugs, especially online, the gambling, should be coming from the peer group. So it is necessary to really get the peer group who would be fellow students, friends, and see that they don't get on this line. It's up to us to counsel, to coach, to do that. One of the things we do, I mean, this I think everybody is aware. We have, Chennai city has a lot, but every district in Tamil Nadu also has the police boys and girls clubs. This is essentially for people up to the age of 18 years, where the child after school can come, and this is mostly for slum dwellers also, can engage themselves in some other activity by coming to these small clubs, which has facility for indoor games and some outdoor games, or come there and sit and do their homework. What is really needed is keeping the child engaged. And I think that is something most parents try to do also, by putting them in for some extracurricular activity, be it in the form of sports or cultural activity, so that they can be, not fall prey to drugs or to even too much of work online. But as regards online gaming, I definitely will have to check up on exactly what the law is with regard to online gambling, and how one will go about doing something about it. Our gambling laws are archaic, so that also requires a change. Our drug laws are draconian, so there will be action taken by the police in that particular area. So that you can rest assured that with people who are indulging in hard drugs especially, that the police will try and put it down or try and do something about it. But it's a lot of counseling that is required and a lot of patience. I'm not 100% sure that I have answered your question satisfactorily, but that I feel is what would be the answer.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
I saw a question on the chat box regarding that, are all the laws very effective in protection of women? I think that's what it said. See, we need the laws, let's put it like that. Are the laws effective? It is up to the person who has to enforce the laws to see that the law is enforced. But because there is a law, it doesn't mean the person, everybody is safe. It also means that somebody who is being mistreated, somebody who is facing problems, has to somehow get a complaint out so that some action can be taken. Without a complaint, see, that's why they say domestic violence is the most invisibilized, form of violence. So until the woman actually vocalizes what is happening, there is very little that anybody can do if they're not aware of it. What is the one thing that everybody can do? It's more awareness. Spread the awareness around and teach people to respect one another. I think that can make a difference to our lives.
There are two more questions, ma'am. Shall I read now?
Yeah, please.
Okay. This question is from Arul Kamaraj, and he is asking, according to NCRB 2020, crime against women increased 8.3% in the year 2020. What are the role of educational institutions to combat violence against women?
It comes in what I was saying about teaching respect, teaching people to respect one another.
Yes.
That really has to help out, and also to tell them that somebody else's body is not yours to take on at will. You know, there's no entitlement.
Yes.
None of us is entitled to have any dominance over the next person, be it a man or a woman. And that is something which has to be taught, because unfortunately we are in our world, I'm talking about the world, not Tamil Nadu. Our world is something which is patriarchal in nature. And therefore we have to, where there's been a sense of entitlement for centuries. And that entitlement is not over all the goods of the house. The entitlement is over all the people in the house also. And when they say people, that is the women in the house. And that same entitlement sort of swings into the outside, goes out of the house, goes into the community, and there is this feeling that I can do whatever I want with the next person, especially young girls. Young boys are also in line for it, so that's what's happened. And only awareness and education will do something.
Yes, madam. So any more questions? Participants, if you have any more questions, please text it in the chat box. Shall we proceed to the next segment of the session? Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Usha ma'am?
Yes, madam.
Dr. Usha ma'am, can you see the question, ma'am, in the message box?
Yes, madam answered both the questions. Malati ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. We will move to the next segment. Thank you is the best prayer that anyone could say. I say that one a lot. Hope to hear the same from you all. Thank you expresses extreme gratitude, humility, and understanding. Now, the School of Humanities welcomes the Assistant Professor, Department of MSW, Dr. Shanti, for the vote of thanks. Madam, please.
Good evening, all. It's my immense pleasure to produce the vote of thanks for the third day of the Faculty Development Program on examining the critical frontiers in social sciences domain. My heartfelt Thanks to today's resource person, Mrs. Latika Charan, retired IPS, Government of Tamil Nadu, for throwing light on women empowerment and gender sensitization. On behalf of everyone, I thank you, ma'am, and we also wish you advance happy birthday wishes. My sincere gratitude to our General Secretary and Correspondent, Mr. Manjit Nair, for his unconditional support. And I would like to thank our dynamic principal, Dr. N.G. Raghunathan, for his continuous support and guidance. I thank our vice principal, Dr. N.C. Rajshri, for her encouragement and support. I thank the Dean, School of Humanities, Dr. N. Malati, for organizing the 5-day faculty development program. I thank you, madam. I would like to thank all the faculty members from all the colleges for their active participation. And last but not the least, I thank all the technicians for the technical support. I thank everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So now we have come to the end of today's session. We all will be gathered here for the tomorrow's 4th day session for one more enlightening process of learning. Thank you so much. Thank you, madam.
Ma'am, my heartfelt thanks to you, ma'am. Madam Latika Charan, ma'am, my heartfelt thanks to you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Dear participants, the feedback link is posted in the chat box.